Hey guys, welcome to Nerdarchy for Nerds by Nerds. I'm Nerdx Ryan, and I'm joined by
Dave.
Ted.
And today we're going to do a video on what does your race say about you? The Halfling.
Before we do, jump down to the description below where you can find Nerdarchy, the newsletter, gain weekly tips as well as learn how to game with Nerdarchy.
All right, so the halfling, this is your favorite race, I believe.
Right. So I mean, by default, they're sort of naturally lucky. They're pretty hardy and resistant to things, and
Dexterous.
That's right. And then depending on what sub races, you either have your bonus to con or to charisma, and then there's your different features. But
so they're either hardy or likable.
Yeah,
pretty much.
Yeah, I mean, so we've seen some different takes on the halfling. You have the Bilbo Baggins sort of like happy hobbit sort of situation, but then you had
that's probably like the archetype. That's the original.
Yeah. But then you get like, well, Sam got kind of badass in the movies with the Lord of the Rings, in the books where he's like dual wielding weapons and like defending Frodo. So that's pretty cool. And then you also have the halflings of Dark Sun, the little cannibal halfling, right? So
there's some variations,
opposite sides of that spectrum,
different sides of the spectrum.
But I feel like in most D&D worlds, what really. Home and Hearth is really
a recurring theme.
Yeah, which defines the halflings. They're creatures of comfort. They're not overly ambitious. They don't want a whole lot from the world or life in general. Mm-hmm. They just want to live and let live, and they take pleasure in the simple comforts of life. Yeah. So the halfling adventurer is an anomaly on that race, more so than any other race. So right from the get-go, you're not a stereotypical halfling if you're adventuring, most likely.
Well, except for, so you take, I believe it was Eberron that made them more of like a caravan gypsy sort of feel to them, and so they're on wagons, and there's something more adventurous about that. So like, there's the home and hearth thing, but it's like mobile home version of that.
Well, no, I
think it was
they were more like plains folk, and they rode dinosaurs.
Oh, there was the dinosaur.
But you're really close.
There was the design. There were the dinosaur rider ones, but I feel like there was another faction or offshoot of them, because those were the ones that lived on the Talenta Plains. Yeah, were the Dino Riders. But I feel like there's another iteration of them within Eberron that also were these sort of like wagoneer gypsy types.
Well, they were like plains folk, so they were like tribesmen, kind of nomadic. But I wouldn't really say gypsy. They didn't scream gypsy to me.
There was a setting that had their halflings commonly in
Yeah,
wagons.
It was ours. We did that.
Oh, did we do that?
Yeah.
I feel like somebody else did that, too.
We did it about 20 years ago.
Are we going to do that again?
I don't know. We could.
Yeah,
we could have a faction of halflings that are gypsies. I like it. I dig on it.
We could definitely figure out like perhaps something happened to their homeland or whatnot.
Well, and also 3rd edition kind of did like a river folk type take on halflings, because they tried to redefine them a little bit.
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean,
but I think we're back to the hobbits.
Well, so and let's not talk about what they did with the art with the wee folk in this edition of the game. Oh, it's so bad. But yeah, so prior editions made them that very sort of frumpy, basically like the brothers Hildebrand and things like that, very like cherubic, round-faced, and kind of frumpy and unathletic. Whereas like 3rd edition, they made a more like a halfling that was more agile, faster, stronger, able to leap 2 or 3 feet.
But I think we're somewhere in an amalgamation of those right now. Yeah. But the real question is, how does that affect how you're going to play that character in your game? Like, how is it different playing a halfling than it is playing a dwarf or an elf or even a human?
It's setting specific too. Like, which halfling are we going with?
Well, we're going to go generic 5e.
If we're going to go generic, then you're looking at having something that generally isn't exposed to the wider world. Halflings tend to. They're one of the more rare races in the big cities, and therefore when they're becoming an adventurer, they're going to be exposed to things that this is all a new experience, and they might be looking for that, or everything might be a
circumstantial.
whoa, is this something that I can deal with?
The accidental adventurer.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's thrust upon them. I feel like though the halfling adjusts to different situations much better than a lot of the other races because they're so easygoing.
Right.
Yeah. Well, so there's the halfling that's like from the Hamlet village, but then there's also the design idea where like halflings just tend to like live in like a ghetto of another larger population, like in a human city or something like that. So there's the either like the very quiet rural halfling or the one that is very accustomed and adept at living.
Can
in
we
the
say
city.
ethnic neighborhood instead?
Sure.
I find ghetto offensive.
Yeah, like, well, yeah. So it's mixed in. So they might live in just a more metropolitan sort of area or something like that.
Yeah, but even so, I think there's still certain characteristics as a halfling. It's always going to be their home and hearth. You know, they're more compassionate than passionate as a race. You know, they're not likely to get riled up. They're going to look for they're going to look to like smooth over the situation, negotiate.
What's the easy way to get this resolved so that we can go back to things to being more status quo?
To the important things like eating a good
Next
meal, and having a
meal,
drink,
playing cards, like
pipe weed.
They're very much like like pleasures of the flesh sort of situation.
Let us not avoid the obvious. They're small.
Yeah.
So it's going to offer advantages of, well, they can get into places and do things that the bigger folk can't, but they're going to be slower if you're running around with a bunch of wood elves and barbarians that are...
They are going to be slower, and like you're in the tavern and you're like as the player you might want to spend some time, not like every session because it'll get annoying after a while, but like emphasizing how they have to pull up the chair or stool or whatever and climb up on top of it because it's not really every once in a while groveling about how everything's oversized.
Right.
Out on the trail, like they're the ones actually trying to make the best of it, and like they're trying to make this little mini banquet out of what they have for themselves and other adventurers. Like a halfling would be an excellent choice for the gourmet feed.
The gourmand
Right,
feed,
That was just released in Unearthed Arcana. They definitely, like, I could see that character, definitely having their pipe weed to pull out, and I mean, they'd be like, they're more inclined to share and spread cheer to the rest of the party.
Right.
So it's almost to me like the halfling in the party is going to kind of like be kind of like the heart and soul.
He's the one to try and bolster everyone up.
Yeah, I mean, and then you always have the option of playing against type, but if you're going to go the most sort of cliche route for a halfling, that's the happy-go-lucky, they're the consummate happy-go-lucky character.
Yeah, pretty much. And again, you can always go against type. But you know what? Even by knowing the type, it gives you the counterpoint to play against.
Right.
So without that, it doesn't really mean anything.
The grim, like Conan-esque barbarian that happens to be
Or
halfling.
the Vengeance Paladin.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's all about story. Because if your village was destroyed by some group of monsters or humanoids,
and
that does put you in that space.
Let's face it, halflings have the stats.
They do.
For the Oath of Vengeance Paladin.
They do. They really.
For a dex-based warrior.
Yeah.
So it's definitely on the table. I might have to play that character now.
Yeah.
Oh, how many is on your list at the moment? A dozen?
It's really long, but I don't have that many on my list that aren't dwarves. So
yeah,
mixing it up.
I'm trying to mix it up. That's the tough part. What do you guys think? How would you play your halflings? What does your race say about you? Let us know in the comments below. Like, share, and subscribe.
You can get some Nerdarchy swag over on nerdarchy.com.
And tell us about your favorite halflings in the comments below. You can also check us out on Twitter.
So until next time, stay nerdy.